Sup ballers, welcome to another video where you wonder what else is on. We pick up after our inaugural season of the Pokemon League, and now we get to see if the Blackthorn City Houndooms can build upon their World Series victory. And we do have a winner on what we will be renaming the World Series, but stay tuned until the end to find out what that is. And speaking of audience engagement, I gave you guys the task of renaming my AAA affiliate, and you failed to give a single suggestion. Come on guys, if you aren't going to participate, I'm not going to continue this series. Do you really think I want to play a Pokemon-themed spreadsheet simulator? Now come up with a city and a name or no more Poke OOTP. For salary arbitrations, I had a lot of players to deal with and gave several significant extensions. Pat Goldsmith agreed to a 3-year deal worth $28 million. Cade Bargainquast agreed to a $3.5 million deal over 2 years. John Bedlicum went for a 5-year deal worth $90.5 million. Ryan Latimer got $18 million over 3 years. Billy Rangel signed on for $12 million over 2 years. Dustin Willis stayed for $30 million over 3 years. And David DeBias agrees to a 4-year deal worth $23 million. Normally I'd take some time explaining these signings, but since these are all fictional players, who really cares? But don't be disappointed because I do have one big contract to issue out. Jaden Green agreed to a 7-year deal worth $200.8 million. This took some extensive negotiating, but it's as good of a deal as I could muster. Ethan Bachner, Juan Barahona, Bayani Crisostomo, Alex Garcia, Miguel Garcia, Arturo Herrera, Caleb Lyons, and Alex Perez are all non-tendered and subsequently released. I make a few trades, the first with the Eterna City Infernape sending James Brock and Jose Torres for Brad Van Dorn in a minor leaguer. The next is with the Violet City Grand Bulls, who send Raul Garcia and a minor leaguer for Guo Ling Sui and a minor leaguer. But the most important trade I made is with the Driftvale City Emolgas sending Joe Schaefer and 2 minor leaguers for Danny Pacheco. Taking a look at Pacheco, he definitely has some good pitching ratings, but in addition, he's incredibly inexpensive. How can you beat that?
I know guys that are so good.
I do hundreds of deals. The deals come out of my ears, and they're good deals. Most of them are phenomenal deals.
As we sim through the offseason, we learn that I've been named Manager of the Year. I would sure hope so since our team murdered all opposition last season, and Jaden Green got the Great Bat Award as well. Here's your first new chance at audience participation. You get to rename the Great Bat Award. Leave a comment and the best reply will be added for the next episode. Pat Goldsmith approaches the team wanting us to help the less fortunate. Reading this, it put me in mind of the horrible living conditions in which the denizens of the Poke universe live.
The truth is, there's almost no way to make a living here. If you're not a gym leader or running a Pokemart, how can you provide for yourself or your family? There's a reason there are so many trainers hanging out on random routes challenging children to fights for money. That's the closest thing to a career most people can find.
Despite the fact that he already signed an extension, and by donating money I will not benefit in any way, I could not help but feel we had to do something, and so I gave him some money. We reached the free agency period, and here's some of the available talent we have to choose from. We made quite a few free agent signings, including Jay Alexis to a $34 million deal for 4 years, Bill Guzman to a 5-year deal worth $23 million, and Danny Lugo to a 4-year deal worth $16 million. But we definitely had some other free agency action. I offered Jim Balcombe a 7-year deal worth $186 million, but he comes back wanting more money, so I offer him $245 million over 7 years, which he accepts. And lastly, I make an offer to Brian Weidler for a 5-year deal worth $97.9 million, but he wants more money, and I offer him $108 million over 5 years. But again, he's going to demand top dollar, and I give him $115 million over 5 years to end the negotiations. For the Rule 5 draft, I make an interesting pick in Jason Lowry. Taking a look... Ah shit, he was my player. Well, that was dumb.
Did I do that?
We make it to spring training and no injuries. Awesome! We make it to opening day, and after the usual demotions, here are the pitching assignments and lineup that I'm left with. As per the usual tradition, I play the opening day game, and here is the lineup that I went with. We pretty much had this game in the bag from the start as Jaden Green hits this 2-run bopper in the top of the first to get us on the board early, and thanks to that and excellent pitching, we take down the Celestic City Bidoof 3-0. Great start to the season. Shortly after, Pat Goldsmith is out for 7 weeks and I promote Mike McLeod to replace him on the roster. These are my new pitching assignments. Jason Lowry is out for 4 to 5 weeks and I call up Jose Gonzalez to replace him. These are my new pitching assignments. We reach May with a 23-12 record, a .657 win percentage, and our first in the division. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be kicking ass right now, but you never know. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make a trade with the CN Wood City Shuckle, sending Nick Treadway and Fernando Canova for Francisco Martinez and a minor leaguer. Was looking to beef up my pitching a bit. To make this trade work, I call up Arturo Ramirez. These are my new pitching assignments. Josh McGee is out for 3 to 4 weeks, and at the same time, Arturo Ramirez is out for 14 months.
If you're feeling suicidal, you've come to the right place. Because I want to fucking kill myself as well. Fuck you, I hate all of you.
I call up Sungwoo Serrano and Joe Harrison to replace the injured players. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. Jason Lowry is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Shortly after, Pat Goldsmith is also no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Following that, Josh McGee is also no longer injured and is also sent on a rehab assignment. Don't think I have had 3 players get sent to rehab assignments that close together before. Kai Tave is out for 6 to 7 weeks. I call up Josh McGee from his rehab assignment to replace him. This is my new lineup. We make it to June having absolutely kicked ass despite all of the injuries and have amassed a 46-17 record, a .730 win percentage, and are obviously first in the division. I'm blown away by our good fortune, but I wonder how long this is going to last. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make no roster moves at this time, but this is where I discover that I have 2 players with the same name in my organization. One, Arturo Ramirez, is on the injured list as stated previously, but another is now in my AAA team. I've since discovered that Out of the Park really sucks when it comes to generating fictional names, but it actually works out for us because now you get to pick the name of one of these players. Doesn't have to be Pokemon related this time, but leave a comment and the best suggestion will make it into the game. Draft time, and we have the 26th pick this time around, and there's really nothing too amazing this time, so here's a look at some of my signings. Not everything in this game is interesting, folks, and in fact very little of it is. And Jose Gonzalez is suspended.
Boy, get over there on the bench.
Pat Goldsmith needs to come back from his rehab assignment, at which point I discover that Jason Lowry is hurt again. So he goes back on the injured list while I demote Mike McLeod to make room for Goldsmith on the Major League roster. These are my new pitching assignments. Kai Tave suffers a setback in his recovery and is out for another 6 weeks. His injuries are becoming worrisome and I may have to trade him during the offseason. Carlos Salazar is out for 6 to 7 weeks and I call up Victor Garza in his place. This is my new lineup. Jason Lowry is supposedly no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Again, let's hope he doesn't relapse.
They tried to make me go to rehab. I said no.
We enter July still doing extremely well with the 63-26 record, a .708 win percentage, and are still first in the division. Again, kicking ass, but given all of the injuries, how long can this possibly last? These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make a trade with the Saffron City Cadabras, sending Francisco Martinez and Brad Van Dorn for Bobby Dickey. His name is Dick in it. Taking a look at our newly acquired player, he's got average ratings but is pretty inexpensive, which is what I was after here. To make this trade work, I call up Tom Carley. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. Raul Garcia is out for 2 weeks and I call up Arturo Ramirez, the second one, to replace him on the roster. These are my new pitching assignments. Jason Lowry's rehab time is up and I demote Sungwoo Serrano to make room on the roster. These are my new pitching assignments. Last trade of the season is with the Saffron City Cadabras again. This time I send Bobby Dickey Dicky. Jim Balcom and a minor leaguer for Luis Garcia retaining 10%, Victor Hernandez and a minor leaguer. I think this trade will work out okay. These are my new pitching assignments. We reach August still dominating across the board with an 80-37 record, a .684 win percentage, and are still first in the division. I feel pretty confident that we'll be going to the playoffs yet again. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make no roster moves at this time. Taking a look at the standings, we can see that the Houndooms have the best record in the league again. But enough about us, how is your team doing? Leave a comment and tell me how your team has been performing. After all, this is for you. As per the usual tradition, I play the game after the trade deadline, and here's the lineup that I went with. We really did not perform at our best this game. Our only offense came during the top of the 7th with this solo shot from John Bedlicum, but it was too little too late as we go down to the Canalave City Garchomp 7-1. I know at least one person who will be happy with this result, but it certainly isn't me. Shortly after, Raul Garcia is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Following that, Kai Tave is also sent on a rehab assignment after his extended vacation. And once again, Carlos Salazar is free from the injury bug and is also sent on a rehab assignment. That's twice in this season I've sent 3 people to rehab so close to each other.
And it's all about the timing.
And it's all about fate.
Grant McLinn is out for 4 weeks, and I call up Kai Tave to replace him on the roster. This is my new lineup. It's also time to call up Carlos Salazar, and I demote Victor Garza to make room on the Major League roster. This is my new lineup. And once again, it's time to call up Raul Garcia, and I demote Tom Carley to make room. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. We make it to September still just chugging along with the 102-44 record, a .699 win percentage, first in the division. I think it's pretty funny that we have 69 in our win percentage. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. For roster expansion, I call up Mike McLeod, Sungwoo Serrano, Tom Carley, and Brian Johnson. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. And Brian Johnson is suspended. That did not take long.
This team and you are going to run out of me. Get out of here!
Grant McLinn is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. And Jake Colbert is suspended. Seriously, that's like 3 suspensions this season. What the fuck is going on with you people?
I'm benching you for the next 3 games. You're serious? Yeah.
We reach the end of the season with the remarkable 112-50 record, a .691 win percentage, first in the division. I find it amazing that we've done so well in these first 2 seasons despite not knowing a thing about these players. These are my pitching stats to end the season, as well as my batting stats. Taking a look at my favorite player of the season, Brian Weidler, he definitely was the star of our pitching staff, having accrued a .378 ERA, 116 whip, 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched, and was worth 5.8 wins above replacement. Money well spent. And as far as the standings go, we have once again amassed the best record in our league, and we will have a bye week in the playoffs. But tell me, how did your team fare? Did they make the playoffs as well? Leave a comment and let me know how hyped or disappointed you are. We must set our playoff roster, and here are the pitching assignments and lineup that I went with. And as we sim through the playoffs, we were not blessed with the same good fortune we've been accustomed to until now, as we are swept out of the playoffs in 4 games to the Canalave City Garchomps, who then go on to win the World Series. But wait! We're not calling it the World Series now, thanks to this YouTuber for the suggestion on what to rename it. It is now the Pokemon League Grand Prix. It's not a fucking race car game, but since none of you gave any better suggestions, it is what it is. To end the season, Billy Rangel meets the vesting requirements for his contract extension, and the owner is good with my job performance. Not exactly the most interesting way to go out, but what can I tell you, the game doesn't give me a lot to work with sometimes. But before you go, we have some unfinished business to attend to. In the last game I mentioned, we'll be adding 2 expansion teams starting the next episode, and you were tasked with providing me 2 names in keeping with the current Pokemon format. Well, one of you made a suggestion, the Sutopolis City Slowbros. Unfortunately, we need one more suggestion to make this work. So, leave a comment and let me know what the other team should be. Be sure to also like and most importantly subscribe so you can be notified when I post more content, because seriously, do you really have anything else better to do? If you did, you wouldn't be here right now, so let's not make this harder than it has to be.